My encounter with the inexplicable began when I moved into an old, secluded house at the end of a street known as Sorrow's End. The house, a looming structure of weathered stone and time-worn wood, had an air of grim solitude that matched its foreboding name. Despite its eerie appearance, the house was all I could afford, a refuge from the tumultuous life I had left behind. However, soon after moving in, I realized that my sanctuary was anything but peaceful. It started with faint, unexplained noises, a creaking floorboard or rustling in the walls, a soft thud emanating from the closet in my bedroom. Initially, I dismissed these sounds as the house settling or perhaps rodents in the walls. But as the days passed, the noises grew more distinct, more sinister. One night, as I lay in bed, the closet door began to shake violently as if something was trying to break free. I lay frozen, my heart pounding in my chest as the shaking grew more intense. Then, as suddenly as it had started, it stopped and a deep, guttural growl echoed from within the closet. In the following days, the atmosphere in the house grew increasingly oppressive. Objects would move on their own, shadows seemed to flicker and twist, and the air was often filled with the stench of sulfur. But the worst was the feeling of being watched, a malevolent gaze that seemed to bore into my soul. Determined to understand what was happening, I began to research the history of the house. I discovered that it had been built on the site of an old asylum, a place of suffering and madness, long since demolished. The asylum had a dark reputation, with stories of inhumane treatments and unexplained deaths. As I dug deeper, I uncovered tales of a doctor who had dabbled in the occult, seeking to harness demonic forces for his twisted experiments. It was said that he had summoned something he could not control, a demon that brought death and terror to the asylum. Realizing the gravity of my situation, I sought the help of a local priest, Father Michaels, known for his knowledge of the supernatural. He agreed to perform a cleansing ritual in the house to banish the malevolent presence. The night of the ritual, the air in the house was electric, charged with a malevolent energy. Father Michaels began his incantations, sprinkling holy water as he moved through the rooms. When he opened the closet, a howl of rage erupted, and a dark figure emerged, its form shifting and twisting, a creature of shadow and flame. The house shook as if in the grip of an earthquake, the walls bleeding a black ichor. The demon, a manifestation of pure evil, fought against the ritual, its growls and shrieks a cacophony of terror. Father Michaels, undeterred, continued his incantations, his voice steady and resolute. I stood by him, clutching a crucifix, my heart racing with fear. After what seemed like an eternity, a blinding light filled the room, and the demon let out a final, ear-splitting scream before vanishing in a burst of flame. The house fell silent, the oppressive atmosphere lifting instantly. Father Michaels assured me that the demon had been banished, that the house was now cleansed of its malevolent presence. Though I continued to live in the house, the memory of that night never left me. The closet remained closed, a constant reminder of the horror that had lurked within. The demon of Sorrow's End was gone, but its echo lingered, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can dwell in the most unassuming of places. Now the second story. My experience with the supernatural began when I inherited the Mercer House, an imposing Victorian mansion located on the outskirts of a sleepy town. The house, with its turrets and intricate woodwork, had always been a subject of local lore due to its mysterious past and the enigmatic Mercer family. Upon moving in, I was initially charmed by the mansion's antique splendor. However, this charm quickly gave way to unease. It began with subtle disturbances, strange noises in the night, doors creaking open on their own, and a persistent cold draft that seemed to emanate from the closet in my bedroom. Initially, I dismissed these occurrences as the quirks of an old house. But one night, everything changed. As I lay in bed, the closet door slowly creaked open, revealing nothing but impenetrable darkness. From within that darkness, a low, guttural growl resonated, filling the room with an oppressive sense of dread. The following day, determined to dispel my fears, I thoroughly examined the closet. To my dismay, I found a series of strange symbols scratched into the back wall, their design unlike anything I had ever seen. This discovery prompted me to delve into the house's history. My research led me to disturbing tales about the Mercers, a family rumored to have dabbled in occult practices. The last of the Mercers, according to town records, was a reclusive man who disappeared under mysterious circumstances. It was rumored that he was involved in summoning rituals, attempting to contact entities from other realms. With a growing sense of horror, I realized that the disturbances in the house might be linked to these rituals. My sleep became plagued with nightmares, visions of shadowy figures emerging from the closet, and whispered incantations that chilled my soul. The situation escalated one fateful night when the growling from the closet turned into a cacophony of inhuman voices. The air in my bedroom twisted and shuddered as if a portal was opening within the closet. From the swirling darkness emerged a figure, demonic in appearance, with eyes that burned like coals and skin etched with the same symbols I had found in the closet. Frozen in terror, I watched as the demon stepped out of the closet, its presence so overwhelming that the air seemed to warp around it. It spoke in a language I didn't understand, but its intent was clear. It was a being of pure malevolence, unleashed from its confines and hungry for destruction. In desperation, I sought the help of a local priest, Father Thomas, who was knowledgeable in matters of the supernatural. He listened to my story with a grave expression and agreed to perform an exorcism on the house. The night of the exorcism, Father Thomas arrived with a small team of clergy. They began their ritual in my bedroom, reciting prayers and sprinkling holy water. The reaction was immediate and violent. The house shook, winds howled through the rooms, and the demon appeared, roaring in defiance. The battle between the holy men and the demon was a spectacle of terror and power. The priests chanted, their voices unwavering despite the chaos unfolding around them. Father Thomas, in the midst of the turmoil, remained steadfast, confronting the demon with an array of sacred relics. As the ritual reached its climax, the demon's form began to flicker and wane, its roars diminishing to pained howls. With a final, ear-shattering scream, it dissolved into a cloud of dark mist before vanishing completely. The house instantly fell silent, the oppressive atmosphere lifting, replaced by a sense of peace that hadn't been felt in years. I left Mercer House shortly after the exorcism. Though the demon was gone, the memories of that terror lingered. The house remained standing, a silent monument to its dark past and a reminder of the thin veil that separates our world from the realms of darkness and malevolence.
Now the third story.
My encounter with the inexplicable began when I moved into an old, picturesque house on Hearthstone Lane. The house, with its gabled roof and ivy-covered walls, seemed like the perfect escape from the bustle of city life. However, I soon discovered that its quaint charm masked a sinister secret. The first sign that something was amiss came on my first night. As I lay in bed, I heard a faint scratching sound, like claws on wood, coming from within the walls. I dismissed it as rodents, but the sound persisted, growing louder and more frenzied with each passing night. I began to notice other disturbances, objects moving on their own, shadows that seemed to lurk and watch, and a cold spot in the living room that never warmed, no matter how high the heat was turned. But the most disturbing occurrence was the appearance of a dark, humanoid figure that I would see out of the corner of my eye, disappearing whenever I tried to look directly at it. One night, the disturbances escalated into terror. I was jolted awake by a deafening roar that filled the house. The air turned icy cold, and I felt a malevolent presence envelop the room. In the darkness, I saw the figure clearly for the first time. It was a demon, its eyes burning with malice, its form shrouded in shadow. I watched in horror as the demon began to move towards me, its steps causing the floorboards to creak ominously. I wanted to run, but fear rooted me to the spot. Just as it reached the foot of my bed, it vanished, leaving behind a suffocating feeling of despair. The next day, desperate for answers, I researched the history of the house. I learned that it had been built on the site of an old asylum known for its cruel and unorthodox treatments. Further digging revealed a series of unexplained deaths and rumors of dark rituals performed by the asylum's head doctor, who was obsessed with contacting demonic entities. Realizing that the house might be haunted by a demon summoned during these rituals, I sought the help of an expert in paranormal phenomena, Dr. Eliza Harrow. Dr. Harrow, a renowned investigator of the supernatural, agreed to help me understand and confront the entity. Dr. Harrow arrived equipped with various instruments and tomes. She conducted a series of experiments and rituals over several days. Each night, the demonic activity intensified, as if the entity was angered by our attempts to banish it. On the fourth night, Dr. Harrow initiated a powerful ritual to trap and banish the demon. As she chanted in an ancient language, the air around us crackled with energy. The house shook, windows shattered, and the dark figure emerged, its form more terrifying than ever, a twisted manifestation of rage and hatred. The demon lunged at us, its claws extended, but Dr. Harrow continued her ritual unfazed. She held up a talisman, and a beam of light emanated from it, enveloping the demon in a blinding glow. The demon howled in pain and fury, its form dissolving into the light until it disappeared completely. In the aftermath, the house was eerily quiet. The malevolent presence was gone, and for the first time since moving in, I felt a sense of peace. Dr. Harrow warned me that the demon might not be gone forever and that such entities are often bound to places of great suffering. She advised me to move out, which I did without hesitation. The house on Hearthstone Lane stands empty now, a silent sentinel guarding its dark past. I sometimes pass by it, and each time I can't help but feel that something watches from the windows, waiting in the shadows. The experience has left me with a profound awareness of the unseen world that lurks just beyond our perception, a world filled with entities that are best left undisturbed.
Now the fourth story.
My descent into terror began with the inheritance of Eldergrove Manor, a sprawling estate surrounded by dense, ancient woods. The manor, shrouded in both grandeur and gloom, had been in my family for centuries, but I had never set foot in it until the lawyer handed me the keys. Upon my arrival, the sight of the manor filled me with a sense of unease. Its towering structure, adorned with Gothic spires and gargoyles, cast a long, foreboding shadow. The once beautiful gardens were now overgrown, and the air was thick with the scent of decay. The first few nights were marked by an oppressive silence, but soon I began to hear whispers in the dark, footsteps echoing through the halls, and a faint, melancholic melody playing from somewhere deep within the manor. One evening, as I explored the labyrinthine corridors, I stumbled upon a hidden room. The room was a library filled with ancient books and manuscripts. In the center stood a grand piano, its keys worn with age. As I approached it, the room grew colder, and the air became charged with a palpable sense of dread. That night, the disturbances grew more intense. The piano played on its own, filling the manor with its haunting tune. Shadows danced along the walls, taking on humanoid shapes. But the most terrifying occurrence was the appearance of a demonic entity in the mirror of my bedroom. The demon's eyes glowed with malevolent fire, and it spoke in a voice that was both a hiss and a growl. It promised suffering and torment, a declaration that filled me with unspeakable fear. I sought the help of a local priest, Father O'Malley, who was known for his experience with the paranormal. He listened to my tale with growing concern and agreed to perform an exorcism on the manor. As Father O'Malley began the ritual, the house responded with violent fury. The walls bled a black ichor, the floor shook, and an unholy shriek echoed through the halls. From the shadows emerged more demonic figures, their forms twisted and grotesque. Father O'Malley pressed on, his voice unwavering as he recited the sacred texts. The main demon, the one from the mirror, appeared before us, its form so terrifying it was almost beyond comprehension. It was a being of pure darkness, a manifestation of all that is unholy. The battle between Father O'Malley and the demon was a clash of light against darkness. The air crackled with power, and the very fabric of reality seemed to warp and tear around us. In a final, desperate act, Father O'Malley used a sacred relic, a crucifix that had been in the manor's chapel for centuries. He thrust it towards the demon, and a blinding light filled the room. The demon let out an ear-piercing scream before dissolving into nothingness. The manor fell silent, the oppressive atmosphere lifting instantly. Father O'Malley assured me that the demon had been banished, but he warned that the manor was a place of great power and darkness. He advised that it be abandoned, left to the past. I followed his advice and left Eldergrove Manor, but the memories of what transpired there haunt me to this day. The images of the demonic figures, the sound of the phantom piano, and the feel of the malevolent gaze from the mirror are etched in my mind. The manor still stands, a brooding presence in the Eldergrove woods. It is a place of darkness and terror, a reminder of the thin veil that separates our world from the abyss. My experience at Eldergrove Manor has left me with a profound understanding of the darker realms that lurk just beyond our sight, realms where demons dwell and nightmares become reality.